Baucus's Raucous Caucus. 5 people were arrested yesterday at a Senate Finance Committee hearing on health care reform and charged with disruption of Congress. They were protesting Committee Chair Senator Max Baucus's refusal to include advocates of a single-payer health care system in a series of hearings on health care. Last week, 8 doctors, lawyers, and activists were arrested as they sought to put a single-payer advocate at a table of 15 witnesses. At yesterday's hearing, none of the 13 witnesses testifying was an advocate of single-payer. Senator Baucus, a Montana Democrat, opened the hearing on a cautionary note warning against any disruptions.
I respect the views of everyone here, including everyone in the audience. And that respect, in turn, means listening and not interrupting when others are speaking. I sincerely hope that everyone here today, including our guests, especially guests in the audience, will forward these proceedings with that level of respect.
As Senator Baucus spoke, a group of about 30 nurses stood up and turned their backs on him. They wore red scrubs with signs on their backs that said, "Nurses say stop AHIP, pass single payer." AHIP stands for America's Health Insurance Plans, a lobby group for the health insurance industry. After standing for a few minutes in silent protest, the nurses walked out of the hearing to applause.
But the current tax exclusion is not perfect. It is regressive. It often leads people to buy more health coverage than they need. We should look at ways to modify the current tax exclusion so that it provides the right incentives.
After the nurses walked out, a group of 5 doctors, nurses, and single-payer advocates stood up one by one and spoke directly to Senator Baucus before being let out by police.
Have a legal duty to advocate to change circumstances that are against the interests or wishes of our patients.
They will be in order.
Today is
Comments from the audience are inappropriate and out of order. Any further disruption will cause the committee to recess until the police can restore order.
Florence Nightingale said, sir.
Committee will be in order. Committee will stand in recess until the police can restore order.
Florence Nightingale said, were there none that ever hoped for better, there would never be any better. Until there's a single-payer health care system in this country, there will never be safety for patients that need access to medically necessary care. Now that Florence Nightingale need access to medically necessary health care.
Mr. Chairman.
The people at this table have failed Americans for 30 years.
Stand in recess until the police can restore order.
We want single payer at this table. Health care is a human right. We want guaranteed health care. No more blue crosses, double crosses. We want guaranteed health care. No more Aetna. Thank you. No more Aetna or Cigna bosses. We want guaranteed health care. We want to see our doctors when we need and get our pills that are guaranteed. We're tired of private insurance free. We want guaranteed health care. In California, SBA 10 is guaranteed health care. And HR 676 is guaranteed health care.
Let me just speak a few minutes. Sorry, order. Give a recess until order can be restored.
Want a single-payer system. Why do you insist on spending more money when the single-payer would give it to us at the price we're spending now? 60%. Why aren't 60% of the people in front of you representing single-payer? 60% of the people want single-payer. This is a sham. All you've got is special interest groups up there.
Stand in recess until the police can restore order. I'll ask for the please come more expeditiously.
Why aren't single-payer advocates at the table? Health care should be for patients, not for profits.
I am Dr. Stephen Fedichel, and it is a sense of outrage that brings me to the Senate table. You You've been entrusted with doing the people's work, and yet you...
Committee will stand in recess until the police come and restore order.
The insurance companies, the hospitals for profit.
And I'll say to everybody else out in the audience who may be similarly inclined, believe me, we hear you. We deeply respect the views of everyone here. We've got an extremely open process, and I just urge everyone to respect the views of others by not interrupting those who are speaking. There'll be plenty of time to meet with everybody. This is a long, involved process. And so those of you in the audience who are not panelists and wish to be heard, I urge you just to contact my office, and we'll figure out a way to talk to you. I'll figure out a way to listen to you. I'll be there personally to listen to you. So I urge you to take that option rather than to interrupt and be rude to our panelists here who've come a long distance and spent a long time trying to make very thoughtful presentations to the committee. But I will meet with anybody who wants to meet with me.
All 5 protesters were arrested outside the hearing room and taken away for booking. Russell McIver is the founder of the group SinglePayerAction.org. It's been organizing the protests. He was the first person arrested last week at the Senate Finance Committee hearing on health care reform.
In this room right now who are willing to take a seat at that table to testify in favor of Medicare for all, single payer. They should be at the table. You can't exclude what the majority of Americans want and the majority of doctors want.
Committee will be ordered. Committee will stand in recess.
Russell McIver joins us now from Washington, D.C. He's also editor of the Corporate Crime Reporter. And joining us from Baltimore, Maryland, is Dr. Margaret Flowers. She's a pediatrician and co-chair of the Maryland chapter of Physicians for National Health Program. She's speaking today at a rally in Washington, D.C. as part of a National Day of Action for single-payer health care. Other speakers include Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, Michigan Congressmember John Conyers, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. I want to start with Dr. Margaret Flowers. You were arrested last week, the first doctor to be arrested. Why?
Well, for so many years, doctors and nurses have been trying to deliver quality health care in this country, and it's become increasingly difficult. We've tried to have our voice heard. We really requested to Senator Baucus that he include a single-payer advocate at these roundtable discussions, and we were told very clearly that there would be no invitation coming. And so we felt that, and I felt that we couldn't be silent any longer. We needed to stand up on behalf of our patients, on behalf of our colleagues, and speak out.
Russell McIver, talk about these actions. So the last week, there have been 2 Senate Finance Committee hearings, 13 people arrested. As we just heard, Senator Baucus said, I will meet with you. He talked to the people in the audience as he was being interrupted one after another.
Well, first of all, good morning, Amy, from corporate occupied territory, Washington, D.C., where the drug companies and the health insurance companies control every nook and cranny. You know, Senator Dick Durbin last week said that the banks own Congress. That, too, where Obama and the corporate Democrats are engaged in what Dr. Marcia Angel, former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, called the futility of piecemeal tinkering. Everybody knows that single payer is going to be here sooner rather than later. The question is, 60 Americans die every day from a lack of health insurance, and are we going to get it done sooner rather than later? So the problem was that you have this lockdown on Capitol Hill where the corporations, the health insurance industry is in control. Senator Baucus has had 28 witnesses over the span of these 2 hearings, not one of which was a single-payer advocate. And as Dr. Flowers said, the majority of Americans, the majority of doctors support single-payer, get rid of the private health insurance industry, save $400 billion in administrative costs and profits, use that money to insure everyone. You have a card, an AmeriCare card, when you're born, and you can go to any doctor, any hospital in the country. So this is what the American people want. Insiders say this is where we're going to get sooner or later. Why not just have it now? Well, the reason is because the health insurance industry will be put out of business, and they control Senator Baucus and the senators on the Senate Finance Committee. So all we wanted that day last week was to pull up a seat at the table and put Dr. Flowers there so she could explain to the American people what single payer was about. And Senator Baucus, instead of allowing us to do that, and instead of having 1 out of the 15, a single-payer advocate, Senator Baucus called the police and had us put in handcuffs and hauled out. You know, the faxing, the phone calling, all of that's not working anymore. We have to use a battering ram to break down what's going on in Congress. That's why we started single-payer action. You know, when we launched it, the Democracy Now! Audience was incredibly generous, went to our website, signed up, donated, and we're doing now creative civil disobedience all over the country because we're getting locked out by the mainstream media, we're getting locked out of Congress, and the only way that this is going